Intuitive tarot therapist Michelle Nolan is back to give us the energetic roundup for July 2026. As we move deeper into a year of transformation, July brings its own unique lessons, invitations, and possibilities. Through the wisdom of tarot and her intuitive insights, Michelle will help us understand what themes are emerging collectively, where we may be called to grow, and how we can work with the energy, not against it. We can't wait to see what's in store. Let's get going. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Karen.
Hi, Robin. Welcome, Michelle.
Hi, Robin and Karen. How are you?
Really
Very
excited to
ready
see
to hear
you.
about what's coming up for July and touch on what we're leaving behind us in June.
We're recording this towards the end of June. So hopefully everyone's in that final phase in June, which was I don't know if you remember this, but the Lovers card was kind of the prominent theme towards the end of June, where we're refocusing, rebalancing our self love, our connection to our life, our connection to the bigger picture of our hopes and dreams, and kind of moving forward past the obstacles, past the rough stuff that was interjected in there about standing up for yourself and showing your environment, the people around you, who you were, to make the aligned choice for yourself, even though there might have been some pressure involved to do that. So the end of June kind of has a softer tone, even though it's strength too, right? It's inner strength with grace, I would say. And then now we're moving into July, which I was thinking a little bit back to our annual forecast. I do remember we were talking about in this third quarter about the clash of the Titans. Everything was kind of moving into this, working up this mountain, and we were going to have this major impact. And it felt very collective, not as much on a personal level, I'm sure, and everything is affected personally, energetically, but it felt very collective.
Definitely. And we were just finishing up with Stevie talking about July as well. And that's the theme going
Yeah,
into July
we're
1st.
gonna we're
Yep.
moving into that phase. So I don't know how it's affected both of you, but I know that I'm kind of ready to see some of the outcomes to some
Yeah.
of the change.
That is
And
exactly, I know how I feel. I feel like June was a very transformative month, especially the beginning of it, with not a lot of time most of the month to really integrate that, but ending the month with more time for reflection and entering July in that way of I am a different person. I have a lot more insight into where I'm going, I would say.
And I think there's something to the seasonality too of where we are, right? Like the Gemini twin energy. You're looking at different points of view, and then you're going into Cancer season, which is a little bit of the crab, which you can kind of go back within and really process some of what's happened before you action anything. So I'd love to see if our tarot supports that activity.
hopefully, yeah, some nurturing. Cancers are our nurturing beings that usually have very like mom energy. It's like
Yeah,
mother energy,
yeah.
right? So we'll see. We'll see if that
All
kind of
right.
comes out. I'm hoping that we have a little bit of that weight taken off from June and we can process, like you said, Karen, but also just be in the feelings maybe about where we're going or where we are.
Yeah.
All right, so and I even pulled a softer deck because I'm hoping that that's the case
Good
too.
call.
So let's see. Okay, I'm gonna open the session here. Spirit, please open the session for the Seeking Center Collective and anyone else who is listening today. And please allow everyone to have an open heart and an open mind to receive these messages. And we thank you for your guidance and your protection and your connection today. Okay, so let's see how we're starting off here. Oh, interesting. Cycles. Talking about cycles and how we experience them, how we experience when chapters are coming to a conclusion. We're getting this very much in the beginning of this month for July. So I'm kind of feeling this in a twofold kind of way. The World card is very much about cyclical energy and endings, but it's in a beautiful way. It's not in a harsh way. It's more of if we're concluding things correctly, we're leaving no karma. Hopefully. We are wanting to conclude things in a way that is responsible, that is, we are present in the closure, and that we are not leaving things unsaid, unspoken. And we don't want to bring the baggage, whether that's energetically or if it's with communication or if it's with dotting our I's and crossing our T's, like in a very 3D way. We want to make sure everything is wrapped up in a way that allows us to move into another chapter. So the world card here has that tone, but I'm also picking up, which I guess we were just talking about, is a collective tone is really important here. A literal sense, like the world at large. So with this energy, we're getting this Six of Cups and this Seven of Pentacles. So it's talking to me more about looking through the lens of the past first, in the very beginning of this July. Now, it's funny because when I think of Cancer energy, and I said that's like the mother, right? The mother energy, if we think of divine feminine energy, see these little kids here, this Six of Cups? The Six of Cups energy is about not just nostalgia, but it's also about the past and it's also about children. So if we combine all of that, if we think about all that, we're assessing first through this lens of our past, personally, our past, where we came from, how we got here. But then there's this beautiful nostalgia energy, which actually cancers, I think cancers have a beautiful way of remembering all the details, everything. They have a fantastic memory. So if we think this is a collective memory, okay, think of this like collective memory, the records of our history, of our past. And this is not just personal. This, like I said, I'm getting a bigger picture here. This is the world's records, the world's history, the world's past. So if you think about this in the beginning of this month, I think it's a very soft approach to first take that fundamental view personally, to look through that lens with nostalgia, because nostalgia is a very interesting energy. Nostalgia is not real. Nostalgia is our own personal imprint on that memory. And most of the time, it is not correct. It's our perception of that history. It's our perception of that memory. So nostalgia always feels sweeter. The past always has a tone of sweetness to it because we're supposed to remember things that way. It's nice to remember things that way. We're not wanting to remember maybe the ugliness or the conflict or the stuff that maybe got us to a place where we had to kind of close cycles out. So if we look at the wisdom of feminine energy, the wisdom of divine feminine energy, it's having us look through that lens from a sweet standpoint, looking through that there is always goodness. Like mom always knows how to say when something's gone wrong in your life, let's look at the good out of this, right? What did you learn? Let's look at this in a positive way. And she can kind of almost wrap a bubble around that and say, looking through your past lens, you've learned a lot, right? You've learned a lot, and let's just take the goodness with, and we can leave the negativity behind. So it has this really beautiful feminine quality, but it's to talk about this nostalgia, that to not get connected to the past and stay in the past is for us to be able to separate ourselves from it, to be able to say, now I can look through that lens and take the goodness with, but at the same time, I can leave it in the past. That allows us to detach. I had a client recently that she was going through a rough patch with her marriage and contemplating divorce and all of that. And we talked about how anger, resentment, any kind of conflict actually creates attachment, right? You can leave a relationship, you can leave a situation, an environment, anything. But when you have the negative emotion going into the next chapter, it keeps you attached.
Yeah. We were just talking about that before we got on about you're looking at moving on to a new place, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you want to make sure that you're not taking anything negative with you forward. And it's true, even in a job or trying out something completely new, you want to make sure that you're leaving anything that's negative behind. So it's like,
Yes. And so the world card here, energetically, if we're talking about it, how it's spiritually showing up for me, it's for us to close a cycle, right? It's for us to close a cycle. We don't want to stay attached to the past. We want to be able to look at it. That's the Seven of Pentacles energy, assess it, process it, let it kind of sit upon us in a way that we can kind of gather the good stuff from it, right? We're not just glossing things over. But we don't feel attached when we kind of can move into this next phase, saying that was a beautiful memory. That was a beautiful history. And we can just look at it through that lens. So I think this is a very kind of feminine energy coming into the beginning of July here. But on this worldview, I'm really picking up about we are at a very monumentous moment where our history is going to feel like a very deep history. It's going to feel like the past is really far past because we're moving at such a rapid pace. We're moving away from that historic feeling, the historic vibe. That was so long ago that I was able to do X, Y, and Z, or that this is how the world worked. And now we're here, and it seems like a distant memory.
Everyone needs to listen to Stevie's forecast because there's a lot of mirroring, especially there's a major shift happening with our nodes, both the North Node and the South Node for the next 18 months. Very much mirrors what you're talking about. So
Yeah.
I encourage you all to listen because, of course, you have no idea what Stevie said. It's so validating, and you each put it in a way that I think for every person will be able to relate. It will hit each person in a way that they can hear it by listening to both, especially.
Yeah. And this feels like even the way I'm channeling this and feeling it, I can feel the femininity in it. I can feel the softness because it is graceful. You know, feminine energy is graceful. It
it's
is
going.
not angry. It is not resentful, and it is not action oriented. Cancer energy is passivity, but in a way that allows for not just the reflection, allows for the flow, but it also just allows for the ebb to say, I'm open to seeing where this next chapter goes while I'm almost looking backwards. That's how the beginning of this July sounds, looking backwards and just beautifully watching that become history for me.
And I think, as you said, it is both on the collective and personal.
Yeah, the collective I'm feeling is definitely here. And a big piece of this, the Six of Cups energy, which is a really interesting piece to me here, because it's not just about memory, but it's collective memory for, I think, at the world globally at large. It's like collective memory. And if we are very spiritual people, we believe that there is a reason, one, why we're here right now in this timeline. And we believe that there is a full timeline path for the world at large, and that we are experiencing just one piece of that path, just one piece. But there are records to not just the history of the world, but also where we're headed. And so I feel like that's a really important piece about globally, we've made these choices already. We've made these choices of this path. Like it's supposed to go in this direction. And so Cancer energy almost understands that flow. It's not in our control.
You know what else is hitting me too, Michelle, as you're talking, is to make the choice to unify and to see ourselves as one versus different and divided. It really is an invitation to all of us to remember that we are,
One people and
yeah,
one in humanity, right?
yeah,
Yes, I think that's an important piece because there is this tone that I'm picking up with that about the memory, which is only humans have it. And we can scribe it, right? AI can document it. Animals don't have memory, they're present. And so we're the only ones with memory. And so there's a really significant piece here. I'm feeling like we hold the value of memory.
the nostalgia. I love that idea of being able to choose to remember what
Yeah.
we love, what makes us happy, what brings us together, what unifies us. That's a choice too.
Right. So it's almost like I've been using this phrase a lot, and maybe it's kind of coming up now. And this is, you can take this personally too, is when I'm working with people, I tell people that healing is not about getting rid of those wounds, right? It is about acknowledging them, accepting them. And then what I'm calling for alignment is the great remembering of who you really are. And so I think there's a tone here collectively where we're supposed to be remembering our humanity, looking through our entire past as seeing like, look where we came from as humans. So it's asking us to remember.
It's deep.
Yeah.
Deep, always deep. I mean,
Always
right?
deep.
Expect anything else. So let's move into the middle of this month. Okay.
Okay.
I'm getting this 5 of Wands and 6 of Swords and this Ace of Wands. And look right in the heart of the reading. The visual is perfect. 6 of Swords. See how this guy in the boat is literally moving in one direction, but looking backwards? This is us moving away from what I always say, like the guy left the island. He doesn't know exactly why he had to leave that island, but he had to go. And that island might have been beautiful. It might have been the entire city that was built over time. It had all of the history. It had all of the connectivity. It had all of the, every single person maybe that individual knew, but he left. So 6 of Swords is transitional energy. And this is really important, okay? Because the 5 of Wands and the Ace of Wands around that tells me this is where change feels like not just it's tough, but it's conflictual. We have inner conflict to that leaving, right? We have inner conflict. That's what nostalgia kind of becomes, right? Where we can look through a lens and say, when someone's moved, let's say, I always say it takes me 2 or 3 years to, if I move to a different city, to really feel like I'm acclimated to that city. But what you start doing is you, like when I moved from California to Chicago, I would just dream about being on the ocean and walking on the beach and all of that stuff. And it just had this undertone of, I want to be back there. I want to be there. Like, why did I leave? I want to be there. And so it has this tone in the middle of the same, like you're looking through this lens, like your past was better. The past was where you wanted to be. And you were forgetting that, one, you can't go backwards. 2, it's just not true. There were things that were not good in the past. There were things that didn't work. There were things that needed to change. So don't get completely lost in the nostalgia and the memory, and also focus on the future will be better. Because what I'm getting here with this Knight of Swords, which is the crossing or the challenge right now, it's staying in this focused zone of clarity and also, like I said, not misinterpreting memory and nostalgia, not misunderstanding it, taking the beauty of it and saying, I'm glad I was there. I'm glad I was walking on that beach and I lived in California for 3 years and I got to experience it. I don't want to get lost in saying that's where I want to go back to.
That's really important. Help shape who you are now.
Exactly.
And the word that comes to mind as you're talking about this is having faith for the future.
Right.
There are all of these new memories to be made, and there's new parts of yourself to discover. It's like nice to reflect and also know it's also time to move forward.
Because right next to that, Robin, is this Ace of Wands,
Whoa.
which is the action and the newness of the start. And even though this feels a little conflictual, because like I said, Cancer energy does have a beautiful memory to it. And I always think Cancer as moon energy and she's divine feminine. She wants to embrace that memory, right? She wants to embrace it and hold it and say, oh, what a beautiful spot we were in. And the collective energy is saying, we need to go. The collective energy is saying, there's a reason we chose to change. There's a reason we decided as a collective to be on this path of change. And so if you take the global view of that, I would say that when we look back through all of these major disruptions, major evolutions in global history, from our lens, looking backwards, we're like, that was great, right? That was great. I'm glad the Industrial Revolution happened. That was wonderful. But I'm sure for the people that were in it at the time, it didn't feel that way. And that's where we are. It doesn't totally feel that way. But for our future selves, we're going to be like, glad they did that. Glad they made those choices because evolution, revolution is what we kind of talked about as the annual forecast. This is the kind of the turnover here. We're actually looking at it and saying there is absolutely no backwards. There's just no backwards anymore. And so let's look at this like this change is for the better collectively and to stay focused there. That's why this Knight of Swords is in the block. We can become extremely confused when this energy is tainted, like I said, with nostalgia. I'm going to keep saying that word because I think it's really important because nostalgia is not real.
I also want to point out in the middle of the month, there is a new moon in Cancer where you're being offered an opportunity to plant new seeds, new intentions based on newness. So think about
Yes.
what you've learned and what can you apply for going forward in the future. And I know you didn't even know that, Michelle, but like everything in the cards that you're pulling speak to that both on a personal and collective level.
Right. Because it's hard. It's hard to leave things behind. Let me talk about the Six of Swords energy since it is the heart of the reading and I want people to understand what this energy is like. Six of Swords energy is where we feel a little out of control, where there are variables around us that are kind of knocking us around. And if you think about a person literally on a boat, what can we control? We can control the rudder, maybe the speed, how much effort we put if we're paddling, but we don't have control over the water and we don't have control over the weather. So if we think about that, we have to really be okay with just choosing a generalized direction and allowing things to come as they do. We have to know that Six of Swords energy is transitional and it's not stable.
Good to know.
I think
Yes.
keep thinking in everything that you're saying, Michelle, about all the like my nieces and nephews who are graduating from college right now, and the nostalgia was so good. They're having a hard time leaving their friends and the college experience and almost the safety of school. And I think about them in that boat. They're like looking back, going, okay, no, I have to go forward, but I don't know what the heck is in front of me and being scared about what that means and the future and what that holds and maybe not knowing exactly what direction they're rowing in. So it just feels very applicable to a lot of the transitional moments that I know a lot of people are going through right now. So it's
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
And obviously it's a really good analogy because it's of embracing the fact that you're an
hmm.
adult. In the eyes of the world, you're an adult. And so
Yeah.
what does my future hold? How does this work? I want to go back. You can be very much in that nostalgia, all that. So it's so relevant. It's a great analogy for so many of us, and you don't have to be going through that time. I think the other part that I think about, Karen and I talk about this all the time, and we have over the hundreds of episodes we've done, is being on that boat and being in the allowing, being in
Yeah.
that allowing of letting that current drive you to exactly where you're supposed to go, not need, where you're supposed to go. They let the universe help you.
Yeah. 100% agree. And I think there obviously be people will be experiencing this like you're saying, Karen, like people leaving school and then moving to college or moving homes or moving environments. But this, like I said, this collective energy is very strong for me right now. And I think it's like we as humans need to leave the island. We as humans need to go to the other island, which we don't know what's on that other island. We have no idea. That's what this Ace of Wands is. We have no idea what we're going to be building over there and what we're going to be battling and what the obstacles are and how much work it's going to take and what we're initiating or activating, within humanity right now.
But
But
you did say the Ace of Wands means that you're going somewhere positive.
just new. It's just new activation.
Okay.
So for me, there's no good or bad with energy, right? It's like a holistic view. There is always good and always bad. If we look at that in totality, right? We need all of that contrast. So I never think there's any bad energy, but it is new. we're activating something new in humanity. So I think the piece that's so important is why this Knight of Swords is here in this block is about the nostalgia and about the memory. We are supposed to take with the beautiful goodness of remembering who we are as humans, remembering who we are, what keeps us connected, what keeps us real, what's the essence of humanity that is not the same from, let's say, animals or computers or any other beings that are not us, whatever people believe in. What is our essence? What is our human memory that we are going to take with into this next build, into this next island that we are creating? And that's what I think Cancer does beautifully. Cancer is water energy and feminine water, and water holds memory. We know this now from a quantum physics standpoint. It literally holds memory as frequency. So this is what we're carrying with. And this is what spirit wants us to carry with, is the essence of humanity in this activation.
Okay, so then where are we going?
Okay.
Yeah.
So the end here, strength card. And I love that strength card has just been a tone through this whole year.
Well, I want to point out in the strength card that you just held up for those who can't see it, there's a lion on it, and we're entering Leo season at the end of the month. So I think
That's right.
even more interesting. Okay.
Right, right. And it has been just a tone, right? Like we talked a little bit about it even last month. 6 of Wands and this 9 of Swords. This is the instability of that 6 of Swords that we don't want to get lost in, but we're human, so we're going to feel this stuff. Is strength and success over anxiety and worry. What's going to win here? If we just fall prey to saying, I'm so worried where we're going to. I don't know what's there. It seems it's a complete unknown. Are we going to be successful on this new island? Are we going to be successful in this new school, in this new environment, in this new relationship, in this new job? Am I going to be successful where I'm going? If we fall prey to the worry, then it removes what that 6 of Swords is trying to get us to do, which is to process not where we're going, where we were. When we focus on where we're going, it's too scary. Okay. And Cancer kind of knows this. That's why Cancers can move in a very flowy way. They don't look through the lens of what's happening tomorrow. They look through the lens of, well, where did I come from? And let me reflect. So the strength in the 6 of Wands here is about maintaining probably what we've been trying to maintain since the beginning of this year, and particularly since last month, about that inner core conviction of strength that we will be successful. I will be successful. That's what the 6 of Wands is. That I trust that where I'm headed is better. So where this anxiety kind of creeps in is, I think, more of understanding what the past view really looks like. From a human perspective, looking back through the past memories can seem like you want to go back. But if you allow yourself to just take what you've learned through history, what the memories that you hold and how important those are, and the goodness that came from it, then the uncertainty of the future just feels like natural, just feels like a place you should go. You're not attached to the history. You're not attached to the past. So it actually gives you strength. That's what I think this is why this is here. It gives you strength to know that where you came from got you here. So why would it be any different a month from now, 2 months from now? Why would it be any different? Because you're just building, you're just continuing. And I think I'll just end this on this global note is I know there's a lot of concern about like, is this the end of human? Is AI going to is it the end of humanity? And I have a very optimistic approach about that. But I think we're supposed to look at this. This is a continuation of humanity. This is a continuation. So this is evolution. This is what evolution is. It's not an ending. It's an evolution. So we should look at this like, let's make sure in this month that we are not allowing nostalgia to bring us backwards too far. We are giving ourselves the reflection and the time to assess the goodness that came from those memories and what we learned throughout time, to apply that into the future, and to concentrate on the essence of who we are as people and how we continue that memory to create the new island or the new world or the new place.
Beautiful. Gosh.
It's such an invitation to both
Mm.
look within ourselves, but also look at each other and what can we build together in this positive new way, embracing all that's at our fingertips and where we've come from.
Yeah, it's a good universal way to look at anything new, anything that we're afraid of. I love that idea of as you're looking ahead and you're afraid to look back at who you are. Again, looking at those graduates, right? Look at all they've achieved. When they went into that 4-year school, they were a totally different person than the person who came out of it. And all that growth, all that change, all that adapting that they were able to do in that environment. And so to remember that's who they are and that's who they'll take into the future and into the unknowns of what's ahead or the island or whatever that
Yeah.
is. It's a lovely way to look at it.
Right. I think our collective memory is very strong. And so there's no reason to think it's our collective memory is ending. We are an amalgamation of all of that history. So we
Mhm.
should just use it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's trusting, it's having the strength to trust what is to come and to be in that together.
And like I said, core
Yeah.
essence of connectivity, that's Six of Cups. That is unlike any other thing in history.
Wow. See, it feels like a very big
It
month
does.
for all of us to really take a look at who we are, where we've come from as a whole, as the world, as you said.
As a whole.
Yeah. And I can't wait to experience it now with this roadmap and with a lot more context, honestly, to come back together and talk about it as we look at August. So
Yeah, I
thank
think Cancer, I think Mother Earth, that's how I think of Cancer a lot. But Divine Feminine, she's basically saying just don't forget.
It's so
Don't
interesting. I
forget.
have to tell you, as Michelle and Karen know, I saw Lee Harris, who is a channeler and an intuitive, last night in Chicago. And one of the major themes that came up was feminine fire rising. And so I
Mm.
feel like the fact that you are bringing up this divine feminine, and for those who don't know, we're not talking about literal female male. Every person, male, female, has both divine feminine and divine masculine within them. So we're
Yes.
talking about this as an energy. And so the fact that it came up last night, it's coming up in this reading for July, I'm sure is on purpose.
It is a global memory that we're not supposed to forget.
Yeah.
Oh, I love ending this on a collective note. I think so much of this year, everybody's been living in their own tunnel visioned world. And I think this idea of now going into the second half of this year with that collective mentality is a
Yeah.
beautiful way to move
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
forward.
actually feels, I will say this, I mean, just the tone I'm even feeling is this feels a completely different shift in
Mm.
thinking than from January up till now. It
Yeah.
feels like we needed that very strong presence of self to get to a place now where we're remembering that we're connected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And remember that you, each one of us, is a divine spark here on purpose together right now. You are important and you are a big part of what is shifting and will make a difference together. Think of it that way.
And that's actually where our strength lies. That's what this is. Our strength lies in what is the same for all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love it.
Good. This is
Thank you
great. Thanks.
so much, Michelle. For those of you, we encourage you to reach out to Michelle at m@mtnolan.com or to look for her at the seekingcenter.com or within the Seeking Center community, that's seekingcentercommunity.com. She'll actually be doing a live session within our community on Wednesday, July 8th, and we would love to see you there. So sign up again, seekingcentercommunity.com. Thank you for listening or watching. Thank you, Michelle, for giving us this roadmap for July. Very grateful.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I always like to be here.
Thank you.